Happy live Tuesday, uploaded Wednesday. Happy first day back to school, if that's what's happening in your world. If it is, I hope it's going well, or went well. Warehouse can't come soon enough. If you will recall from yesterday's uploaded, we communally, as a community, swapped the Vigorelli from its somewhat hard 15-tooth cog to a just marginally easier 16-tooth in the rear, going from a 48-15 to a measly, slightly changed 48-16. Something that many of you have warned me about, the skid patch problem. There's a reason that these tires have lasted as long as they have on this bike, apart from having not ridden it much this summer. These did get quite a few miles. I try my hardest not to skid this bike. Generally, I will only do that in an emergency situation. But I digress from the Fixie Bro talk. This video, all I want to do is go out to one of my favorite little road loops that's nearby of the house, find the spot where it actually kind of goes an actual circle, ride it one after the other with the 15-tooth cog and the 16-tooth cog, just to get an idea of the way the different gearing feels. Of course we can understand that the math says that the gear inches are lower, that the gearing is lower, that the gear ratio is easier, and that it will spin out at a higher speed. But what does that feel like? What is the outcome of a one-tooth change on a rear cog setup for me on the Vigorelli? In true fixed gear fashion, I'm going to do it in cut-off shorts and like a sporty t-shirt. I also will wear a helmet. I've got my 15 mil with me in this pocket, not impeding any movement, and the cameras that we will use. Bit of a jean short pro tip. When looking for a pair, go to Costco and buy the cheapest, worst feeling pair of jeans that they have on sale in that like weird middle section where all the clothes are. I promise you, those are gonna be the most comfortable, compliant, stretchy jean shorts that you can ever create. A lot of people like to swear by winners, but when you buy like a nicer, stiffer, tougher jean, they don't ride quite as nice. They take a bunch of time to break in. And while they're breaking in, you do run the risk of blowing the crotch out. Get the softer, crappier jean. Doesn't last quite as long, but feels way better. Not to mention, way less expensive, and you feel way less bad about cutting a pair of pants on. I think I was a little bit over ambitious with my video goals and riding route for this video, hardly taking into account how quickly daylight was escaping. So I made the very executive decision to do the cog swap midway through the ride, sort of at the halfway point, working an idea of similar terrains on either side of the ride. Besides, it's mostly an out and back anyway, it's kind of the best way to make the comparison. So I rode out here to the church where we swap gears on the 16-tooth, and right now for the way back I'm on the 15-tooth, and all else, of course, being the exact same because we're riding the same road on the way out that we rode on the way in, being equal. Though I am admittedly a bit of a skepticist when it comes to minute changes and whether or not I'll actually feel them. I will say, there is a difference when you try them one after the other. This seriously is the busiest road in the world, and I feel like I'm a contestant or possibly a target in the movie Death Race 2000. So I'm just gonna go home, we'll finish this there. Okay, so now we've done it. Let's answer, does a one-tooth cog difference actually feel any different? And the short, wildly unsurprising, completely dissatisfying answer is, yeah, by about as much as you would expect it to. Of course, if you've literally spent any time whatsoever on a road bike, you already knew that this was going to be the answer. That is why cassettes are designed to go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and then 19, 21, like 20. Anyway, definitely changing your fixed gear ratio by one tooth is going to make a noticeable difference, but nowhere to the point that I may have alluded to by making 2 videos to make this little subject. As a matter of fact, when I started this ride, starting with the new cog, the 16 tooth from the 15 tooth, I would probably say for a good portion of it, this is like no real difference until I got to maybe flat sections or sections with like a 1% to like, I'll go as far as 2% grade, where it just felt like my cadence was a lot happier. That the pedals and my legs were just kind of in sync. I didn't feel myself grinding every pedal stroke to keep the bike up to a speed that I could keep my feet away from the pedaling pressure that follows you with a fixed gear. And that, I think, just kind of comes down to maybe a slightly lower gear ratio is possibly better for the terrain that's out there and possibly just around here, that you can be in a nice controlled cadence where you're not mashing the pedals the whole time and you're not trying to stay away from them the entire time too. Probably for general riding, I'd be better off with a 16 or a 17 tooth. But what I will say where it doesn't feel like it makes any difference whatsoever is any grades steeper than that. You're definitely still grinding up any climb, which makes sense. It's pretty tall gear still. As Zach Gallardo has said on his channel numerous times, part of the fun of riding a fixed gear is making it up those climbs with a less than ideal gear. And the difference between the flats and when you got into a headwind and like the little grades up really came into play when I put the 15 tooth back on halfway through the ride and rode over all the sections that on the way out with the 16 tooth, I was definitely happier to be pushing that gear than the 15 tooth. I think maybe for like general riding, using that as a road bike and like tooling around in the city from this point forward, I probably will stick with a 16 tooth cog, possibly even just for a bit more rideability, jump up to a 17 tooth, like a few of you have mentioned in the previous video. So that anecdotally answers the question, will you feel the difference of a one tooth cog change? Yeah, kinda, yeah.